Hello and welcome to the Bonus Points podcast. I am your host, Joe Garrett, once again being joined by Ollie Guy.
Hello.
Hello, Ollie. And today we are going to be doing Doom, the original Doom. And this is Ollie's choice for a game. So I guess right off the bat, why Doom?
Well, originally it was Doom 2. Because I was like, everyone's already done Doom 1. Everyone's said everything that needs to be said. But then Doom 1 turned out to be a lot shorter. So we picked Doom 1. Well, because we were originally going to do it over the Christmas break. But then because of the delay with you being unwell. Are you feeling better, by the way?
Yeah, so I will say, kind of same as last week. Last week was actually all right, last podcast. I still have a bit of a lingering cough from COVID. Like, I'm completely over it. But yeah, the cough is just because I keep having to record stuff like this.
Yeah.
And I've been recording all day. Sometimes in the evening I have a bit of a cough, but hopefully it'll be okay and I'll edit it out as much as I can.
And I'm also over it, just so you know.
You know, you're over
I'm
me
over
having it.
Yeah. I'm so over it.
I'm over this whole thing. I'm just over it.
So yeah, that was the reason, and then we just kept it in the list.
Yeah, so everyone said everything that needs to be said about Doom. So coming up now is about an hour or so of us.
Well, hopefully the people
Doom.
Listening, and maybe even you, might learn something about Doom.
Oh, I'm looking forward to So you've kind of because this was your pick. And last week was like Halo week, which was kind of my area of expertise. You've kind of stepped up to kind of do some kind of research into the game and kind of you're going to be saying some comments, hopefully from the Bonus Points community. So yeah, I'm going to kind of just hand it over to you if you kind of want to lead the conversation a bit, or if there's anything in particular you want to start talking about first.
Okay. Well, first of all, so Doom 1993. So this was like one of the original first-person shooters. So it's like the exact opposite of Halo Infinite, which is like one of the newest. So,
yeah.
Okay, so that way it's the complete opposite. It was made by id Software, and that's most notably John Carmack and John Romero, who are now like super famous game designers.
Yeah.
But this was like one of their first games.
Yeah, so it's kind of John Carmack was the guy who kind of made the engine, and even before Doom he was kind of famous for, first was it Commander Keen?
Yes.
He was the person who made the first kind of like scrolling games on a PC.
And I've also got a fact about Commander Keen.
Oh, please. This was the time. This is the segue.
So Commander Keen is like a 2D scrolling game. But originally that was made as a tech demo for Nintendo so they could port Super Mario Brothers to the PC.
I know about that. They didn't believe it at first. He showed them because he made Mario run on PC.
Yeah,
and they didn't believe it, and they wanted to make that like a port of Mario. And Nintendo's like, why would we want to do that? We want people to buy our Nintendo consoles. Yeah, so they're like, all right, we'll make our own game.
Yeah. So then they made their 3D engine, which they had made Wolfenstein, and then they were like, let's make a Commander Keen game in 3D, and they were like, no, we want to make something a bit darker. Because they loved Dungeons and Dragons and Alien. Yeah. So inspired by that, they made Doom, which, I can tell you where the name comes from if you want. Or do you know that as well?
Well, actually, no, I don't. I have no idea.
Okay, so it comes from the film The Colour of Money. There's a scene where Tom Cruise turns up to play pool, and he's got his pool cue case, and they're like, oh, what have you got in the case? And he just says Doom. And they were like, that's so cool. So they've used it as the name of the game.
Someone's got to have done an edit where he just brings out his case. It's just like a giant copy of like the PC disc of Doom. What have you got to do?
But yeah, so I've got a few little bits of research we can put in, because I think this is going to be quite a short episode otherwise, because the game is not very long.
Well, let's chat about the game, because obviously there's gameplay on the video podcast on screen, and it's so famous. I'm sure a lot of people know about Doom, but I feel like there's loads of people that know it and have seen it and played games that have been influenced by it. But I bet there's a lot of people, especially of kind of our generation and younger, who weren't, we weren't old enough to play Doom when it was released. So I bet there's a lot of people that just haven't played Doom. So we played through all of Doom, all 4 episodes, right? You did?
Yep. Yeah, I did, yeah.
So what do you feel? Let's go over, I guess, gameplay first. Kind of what do you think of the gameplay?
I think this game is amazing. I've never really properly played it. Like, I've played bits here and there, but I've never really sat down and played it. And also, like, Doom 3 is my favourite Doom game, so people think I'm an idiot. So, because it's like the one that's different.
Have you played Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal? Are you considering
those? I played
those?
2016, but I didn't get very far.
Oh, really?
I just thought it was okay. Didn't really do it for me. But this one was like so pacey, you know, like constantly moving forward. It's so fast, so weighty. Like even when you sidestep, it's like you can feel. Even though
there's a bit of the slide that was really common for games at the time, because of course when the Source engine kind of copied that in like Counter-Strike and Half-Life, they had that slight slide, and then it even has come forward to now Minecraft, where Notch was such a big fan of Quake, he added the slide in Minecraft, so that's why its legacy, you know, from Doom has gone all the way to Minecraft. I will say, when we're talking about kind of the pace and all of this footage, we are playing the remake of the game, so. I don't know whether playing it, you know, I don't know how well it ran on the hardware at the time.
Well,
but I never remember complaints of like bad frame rate.
It's really, really well optimized. That's like one of the things about it is that, and at the time, reviewers, so like Edge magazine only gave it a 7. And they were like, "Oh, it's so such a low bar. It runs on anything, like as if it was a bad thing, because that's so early in like PC gaming." They were like, "It must be rubbish because it can run on anything."
It's like Crysis gets all 10 out of 10. It was great. I couldn't play it. It was amazing.
But it did need its own sound card, which was like something that not everyone had. But everyone still played it because the first chapter was free. The first episode was free, so that's kind of how, because the game comes in 4 episodes, right? And the first one was free, so that's how they get you in. And then you have to phone them up and say, like, send me the other.
Yeah, so it's called like shareware, wasn't it? So you could get that disc for free, and then it would kind of, you know, hopefully. I mean, it's such a nice way of doing it. It's almost like a really long demo, because it's so genuine on the developers, because it's like, we trust this game is so good that you'll play it a bunch, and you're going to want to play it more. Like, compare that to, like, you know, pre-ordering a £50 game, which is so the opposite of like, you know, assume it's good from the trailers. Yeah.
I've also, it's kind of tangentially related to what you just said. I got a fact on pre-ordering. Did you want to hear that?
Sure.
So you're looking around like no one wants to hear it. You're like, sure.
I was looking to make sure that I was definitely recording properly, because I don't want anyone to miss this fact.
So pre-orders only exist because, do you remember that ET game that came out and like they made millions of copies and throw them away?
Yeah, the old Atari game.
So basically they invented pre-ordering so they could count how many they needed to make. And then games companies have just kept it in their like financial planning for so long now that they can't really get rid of it, even though it's completely unnecessary.
Yeah, I was going to say, here's a little tip for everyone watching or listening: never pre-order a game.
Never pre-order anything.
Why would you?
If it comes with a big statue, definitely don't pre-order it.
Yeah, and if you get like a free like gun skin in the game, that's not worth the risk. The game would be fine without it, I promise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway,
what difficulty did you play on?
I played on Hurt Me Plenty.
Same.
Is that the same with you?
Yeah, that's the medium in it.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't want to like suffer. Well, let's talk about difficulty. So, did you find it difficult?
No, but I will admit because I read online during my research that the final chapter was really hard. I did turn the difficulty down for that one, down 1 notch, so that I wouldn't be like, because I was having so much fun. I was like, why struggle on the final?
Yeah, one? I feel like the last episode was like, you know, it almost feels like it's you know, like the really stupid song at the end of Guitar Hero, which is like made for the hardcore. Like most people won't do it, but like there's some people that want to be pushed to the limit. Yeah. But I feel like that's where it crossed over to like, it wasn't a fun challenge. It was like setting traps and like you teleport through an area and there's enemies behind you and then you're just dead. And so once again, we were playing on the remake, so we had a quick save, quick load function.
Yeah,
without that function, I would have thrown the towel. Like I would, not as in like I could beat it, but it's one of the games where I feel like I need to play it to learn the map and then play it to win, because it felt like it wasn't designed to make you win on the first playthrough, which it probably wasn't, because it's a short game and they wanted to give people's money worth, so they make it difficult so you would replay it.
Well, the final chapter actually came out 6 months after Doom 2, so people were well versed in Doom at this point.
No, that doesn't surprise me, to be honest.
And also it came on the like Game of the Year edition, so it came with everything, and then you also get the 4th chapter.
And there was like stuff, there was like a level where it's like a gap, and then there was like the end of level door, and I was like, it was on the fence of, you know, there's some gaps that you can kind of almost jump, you can kind of run quickly over, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I could make that, and I tried and I failed, and I was in a pit on like lava or green goop or whatever, and there was just no exit. And so I was like sprinting around it, like just pressing all the doorways in case there's a secret panel. But then I just died, and I was like, if I didn't have quick save, it would put me back to the beginning of the level and take away all my guns.
Take away all your guns,
if you play through the levels, you keep all of your guns. So you got all your BFG and your rocket launcher and all these great guns. If you die once, it puts you back with just a pistol, and you got to get the guns again. And that just feels like kicking you when you're down almost.
Yeah, that's very old school game design. That is right there.
Yeah,
but at least getting the shotguns easily.
Yeah,
pretty much every enemy carries one. So.
And that's probably the gun you use 90% of the time, right?
Yeah, what a weapon that is. So satisfying to use.
Yeah.
Like, I wrote in my notes that it's as satisfying to shoot an enemy in the first stage as it is in the final stage with the shotgun.
Yeah.
Like, it never gets old. It's just so good.
Yeah, especially like the imps, the ones shooting fireballs and stuff, and you can kind of like, you're ducking around the corner and like one hitting them and stuff. It's really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually prefer it over the super shotgun, which appeared in Doom 2. Which is more powerful. It like uses 2 shotgun shells, like a double barrel shotgun, but it's slower. And I feel like that. I don't. It just like I think the animation and the sound is like top notch for its era. But I found it less enjoyable. And I think it forces you to almost be a bit more reserved, because if you miss a shot, there's so much downtime. You are kind of forced to play a bit more cautiously compared to like, how I played, the original Doom, almost like a bullet hell game where I'm just dodging things and just sprinting around, like circling them in the room, which I found really fun.
We didn't really go through how it actually, like, the flow of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So every level, you're meant to run from beginning to end, but the design is very open. So you kind of have these sprawling maps that I feel like are just the exact right size for you not to get lost.
Yeah.
Like if they were slightly bigger.
Yeah. Well, they're like a labyrinth, aren't they?
Yeah. But the map is like also really good. So you don't you can see the door colours that you've run past.
Although I do have one complaint with the map.
You love or actually you hate a map, don't you? You absolutely hate a map.
I tell you what, it's better than Halo Infinite's map. But one of the things I don't like is all of the lines for the walls are red. And I had one bit where I just got a red key card and I went to look for the red door. And I was like, and I just couldn't see it because it was all red. So that's my one big complaint about the map.
I kept forgetting you couldn't scroll it, and then I would go to scroll it and like run off.
Yeah, because you can still, it doesn't pause time. You could zoom out of it, which I worked out, which made it a bit more manageable as well.
So you have these big scroll like labyrinths, and then you basically need to pick up like 3 keys usually, and then open the doors in the correct order. So there'll be a red key for the red door, blah, blah, blah. And then you get to the exit, which is usually just a button or a door, and you run through it, and then it just puts you in the next level. So it's pretty straightforward. Oh, and there's also loads of enemies to shoot.
Yeah.
It's pretty straightforward.
And a few kind of minor puzzles. It was, not in a huge way. It's much more, press the thing. One of the things I did find a bit annoying is like sometimes you'd press a button and you'd hear like, and I'm like, I have no idea what that did, because often it would do something really far away. Because I always hate it in games as well. This was kind of PS2 era when you pull a lever and then they do a mini cutscene of like a door slowly opening. So I hate that as well. Like I don't like that solution, but sometimes I feel like I'd press a button and like I can't remember what platforms are up or down or what's this.
You need to be able to see what's happening, basically.
Yeah. I feel like that was one of the. And then the other problem I had with navigation is I didn't like the levels that had lots of teleporters, because that makes you lose your sense of direction. There's some in particular where I'm just, I feel like I found the exit by just walking for long enough that I found the exit rather than working anything out.
Well, I would look at the map and see what looked like the biggest, like the most final point, and then basically use that to try and find where the exit was. I'd be like, okay, so all the rooms are kind of leading up to this corner, and then in that corner there's one door that I can't open. That's probably the exit. So whatever I need to do to open that door, and then I need to come back here and check. Yeah,
it sounds like you use the map more than me.
I was constantly using it. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I used it I would use it when I got stuck or wasn't sure, rather than continually popping it up. I guess, especially in the early levels, you didn't need it so much.
No, even though it is good for finding secrets.
Yeah, so yeah, that's the other big thing. Like that's a huge part of the game is it's full of secrets. There's so many secrets. I was finding secrets and they weren't even secrets. They weren't even big enough. I'd find a secret. I find a secret door that's just like an unmarked thing I open and it's like it didn't tell me I found a secret. I was like, is that like a sub secret?
Yeah, like waiting for the sound effect. That you found a secret.
I want to be. I want to see that percentage go up. So did you find like if you finished a level, would you go hunting for secrets or were you just kind of stumbling across them?
I was kind of only looking for secrets when I had no health.
Okay, looking for health in that.
Yeah, and then when you pick it up, so when you pick up an item like a weapon or a health kit, you get a little message. Yeah. Did you see that when you're low on health, it says you found a health kit that you really needed?
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of those little like flavor bits. Even like when you complete one of the episodes, it would like the end text is always like there's a bit like something about your cat Daisy and so there's like really
right, yeah.
You can see it was just a bunch of lads just having fun with it. It's so different. And like even like the levels, they were like it'd be like, oh, this is John Romero designed this level, and I'm sure. Other people at the company tested it and stuff, but it was really like, I'm going to sit down and make a level and it's my style, and then the next level is completely different because someone else made it, which is good and bad because I do think the level design was, it was inconsistent, I think throughout. I think the first episode's probably a standout for me, last episode least, and then there was the level where I think you're on the moon or something when it kind of goes a bit more or kind of organic, and I think that's when graphically it gets a little ugly. Anytime you try to do
you have like the walls that are like skin.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're like wormy skin walls, but then also anytime it tried to do like caves or like stone, it didn't like. I feel like the tech kind of space station art style kind of has aged a little bit nicer.
Yeah, I 100% agree. There was that cool stage in episode 3 though that was shaped like a big hand.
Okay.
Did you see that one? So
I probably didn't look at the map.
Quite near the beginning, you pick up the computer that shows you the whole map.
Yeah.
So when you pick it up, you then see there's a big hand on the screen, and I was like, "That's quite cool. They've done that."
Yeah. And can I say so? In Halo Infinite, one of the big points we made is Halo Infinite has no moments.
Yeah.
So Halo Infinite obviously came out, 2021, last year as we're recording this. Came out in 1993, and it has so many more moments, like cool stuff. And like even like you pick up an item and then the lights go off when you're ambushed, or there's a bit like when you're first getting the machine gun one of the first times, and you press the buttons and it really slowly drops on a pedestal. And then I think the whole final level of episode 1, you remember you start off and there's the room full of those like pinky demons and loads of barrels, and it's just like they're not a challenge because you're up high and you just shoot them and they all just blow up. I'm like, that's so they've just added that because it's cool. Then even at the end of that level, after a big boss fight, you go to end the level and it suddenly teleports you into a room with loads of demons. You're like, and then it just ends. And it's like that stuff. It's like that's what I love in a game. So even though this is an old game and some part of aged badly, like it's got all of that really custom directed tailored gameplay experience that's missing on so many of these kind of modern open world games.
We got a comment about that. There's no question or anything, I just thought it was quite a good comment, so I pulled it out, by Southpaw Jr., who says Doom was one of the first games I saw that made me think this must have been so cool when it first released. Obviously the game's aged a lot, but just like Mario 64 and Half-Life, I can't imagine how mind-blowing this experience must have been in 1993.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. So, what was when did you first play Doom?
I actually, unfortunately, played the Game Boy Advance version. It was my first ever version. I thought it was cool because it was an FPS on Game Boy Advance. So I was like, "Oh, this is great!" But like, I didn't finish it, and considering the game is about 2 hours long, that's quite damning, isn't it?
Yeah. So I played Wolfenstein 3D. We had that on the map. One of the few games my dad really liked and still occasionally mentions today. Yeah, Wolfenstein 3D. He doesn't know the name of it. He'll be, he says like, "What's that one with all the Nazis going like Achtung all the time?"
Yeah.
You just found it really funny. And then I played Quake. So I played either side of it for id Tech games, but I didn't play Doom until the Xbox 360 release of it, and that was like the only time until now I'd played the whole way through it.
What did you think of it when you first played it?
I really enjoyed it. I mean, I played through the whole thing, so yeah, I thought it was fun. So that's why I kind of when you suggested it, I was like, yeah, it's been long enough. I'm up for playing through it again. Like I know as you kind of said earlier, the fact that the combat's so fast, like it's aged so much better than games that came out after it. Like, I think if you looked at like PS2 shooters or PS1 shooters, they've aged so much more worse. They'd be slow and spongy and sluggish and stuff. But, Doom, gameplay wise, forgetting some of the level design stuff, really hasn't aged that much at all, really.
It's so crazy that they nailed it in like 1 or 2 games.
Yeah.
The fact that it's so good and it's become a blueprint for a lot of games after it.
Yeah.
And they just did that one and they were like, oh yeah, we're just like they were like, what, 23 and 26?
Yeah.
And they were like, let's just make a game in our dorm or whatever. And it's just like unbelievably good.
What do you think the biggest difference is between Doom and like a modern shooter? What's like the biggest, like, obviously ignoring kind of, like just the graphics, but what's the biggest kind of just mechanical or change between the two?
The biggest thing, and also the reason why Doom is still so good, is because I think it's because it's just so simple. Yeah. Like every level is almost the same, but what you do within that level is different. So like every level is literally just clear all the enemies out and run to the exit, and because you can run so fast, it's like thrilling.
Yeah. Like
the thrill is still there. I don't know. Yeah. But I think it's because it's not bogged down with so many other features, like, you can't mark enemies or anything.
Yeah.
or anything like that. It's literally just run.
Yeah.
And literally sometimes like you are fighting for your life. Like it's not.
Yeah.
It's not intense. Like the first 3 episodes aren't that difficult, but they're not easy either.
Yeah.
And quite often I found myself being like, all I've got is like,
oh god, yeah. The part's awful.
Yeah. Even when you get the power up that makes your punches good, like they still suck.
Oh, the berserkers, right? Yeah. The second to do that, it'd be like, you got this thing. My fist would come out, and I'd be like, great, back to my shotgun, and I just wouldn't even punch anything. I wouldn't use it.
I've got one complaint about talking about this, is that the weapons changing is so slow.
Yes.
You'd be like, whip your shotgun out, and then you'd be like layering his gun. And it's like, oh my god, get your shotgun out! Like we're getting attacked. He's like, oh.
It could be so much more fun. I actually had one time, and I think it was on one of the really difficult levels when I was shooting with my rocket launcher, and then I pressed to switch to my shotgun. So I pressed to switch, and then I pressed to shoot. And in most games, it wouldn't shoot until you got the next gun out, but it just fired my rocket launcher again. And I blew myself up, and I was like, oh, it's going to take a lot for me to like, and I hadn't like quick saved, so I was like, it's going to take a lot for me to then start the level with just the pistol. And that's the other complaint for the weapon balancing. I think the pistol just should be stronger, because you get the shotgun, you never use it again. I know they've got the machine gun, but I wish the pistol was more of like a revolver and more, a viable option, throughout the game, because there is a limited selection of guns.
And the rocket launcher, the splash damage is just way too big.
Yeah, you kind of got to say that for bosses in the big open areas, really.
And even if the area is huge, like if you strafe behind something and you think you're like, oh, I'm a good 30 feet behind it, it will still hit you for like 16 damage. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah, and you're so fast if you're just strafing. It's very easy to strafe past all. And then I think another complaint is you can't look up and down, and that is
that's fine. That's fine. It's a limit of the technology.
Oh yeah, no, of course. I'm not like saying that they're bad developers. I'm just saying, but that is. It's something that you can't do. And I think the two things, obviously, occasionally it would be annoying for enemies when you're getting hit and you can't really see them. But the thing is, it kind of hurt me wanting to explore for secrets. There's so many times when there's like a pit with like acidy water in or something, or even just water. Yeah. And I'm kind of like sideways walking along it, trying to just peer down to see exactly like if I drop down, can I get back out, or is there anything there? And I'm like, obviously, I'm saying it. That's something that's aged badly. I'm not, I'm not having a go when it was made. It was amazing that it runs as it is. I'm sure they would love to allow you to look up or down, but I think that is something worth noting.
We actually got a question, which I'm going to put to you, which is sort of what we're talking about. Tarin5 says, how do you think the Doom series has evolved over the years? That's quite a big question, that one. Are there older features / mechanics in the older games that they cut out the newer games that you miss? I've never played any of the Doom games before. What game would you recommend I started with?
So it's hard because it's such a time span. There was a Doom game released like Doom Eternal a couple years ago, and then and then like Doom 1, like they're very, very different. I think from this podcast should be enough for you to decide whether you would have fun playing Doom 1 or 2, which Doom 1 or 2 you can basically think of one big game. They're so similar. Doom 2 is kind of slightly more expansive levels and more enemies, but they're basically the same game. I feel Doom 3 I'm going to pass over to you because you definitely played that more than me.
That was my favorite Doom game. I don't know if it's now Doom 1 because I love this game so much, but Doom 3 is more like a horror game. It doesn't really have any of the qualities of Doom 1. It has its own qualities, but they're not, so in Doom 3, for example, it's all 3D and there's a 4K version, so it looks pretty good. It doesn't look great. Came out in 2006 or something. But like, for example, you can't draw your gun and a torch at the same time, but there's a lot of dark areas. So it's like that kind of horror game, like where you're like, oh, what do I do? Like resource management.
They have re-released the game and now give you the option to have the torch on your gun.
Oh, okay.
And modders did that at the time because some people liked it, some people didn't.
Yeah, they called it. I remember that they called it the duct tape mod.
Oh yeah.
And the description was like, you found some duct tape and sellotaped your torch to your gun.
That's so fun. Or you learned to stick it in your mouth.
Yeah. Well, the thing is when Doom 3 came out, everyone was like, oh yeah, the way the monsters just spawn behind you isn't anything like Doom. Like that never happened. The lights never went out. And it's like, if you actually play episode 4, quite a lot of that, the more that it leaned into the horror angle, even though ever so lightly, a lot of that does carry over to Doom 3.
And I think it's worth pointing out that at the time, people, like, the conversation of Doom was about how scary it was. Not because, like, nowadays it almost seems laughable, but, like, people weren't playing games in first person. Obviously there was Wolfenstein 3D, and there was, and even before then there was, like, a 3D tank game, but I think that's very different to being a person. But seeing an enemy run up to you in first person was just scary. It's almost like one of the first films where there was like the train going towards the screen and everyone ran out the cinema. It's like not because trains are terrifying, they've just never seen it. And I think that the intensity has lasted. Like there are times when the lights would go dark or be flashing, and there'd be like those like slightly invisible pinky demons running around, and I'd be like, and I'd feel tense. I wouldn't feel scared, but the graphics doesn't matter as long as the gameplay works.
I was going to say exactly the same thing. Like sometimes you'd see down a dark corridor and you'd hear them, and you'd be like, oh, God's sake!
Because you're just scared of losing your health or wasting your resources, and that's where the tension lies because it is so unforgiving.
We also got a comment. I don't really know where we're going to fit this one in, but I pulled it out because
let me quickly just say then there's Doom and Doom Eternal. Just their comment. Doom and Doom Eternal are much more similar to the original Doom in terms of pacing, but they're like all bells and whistles and modern. And I really love them. I really enjoyed them. So
and they lean into the silliness more, don't they?
Yeah, but they go really into like the lore. Like, there's a surprisingly amount of story, especially in Doom Eternal. But it's all a bit tongue in cheek. They know what they're making. One of the best Doom 2016, one of the best soundtracks in video games, and it's an adaptive soundtrack. Obviously Left 4 Dead famously kind of had that. This is the same thing. It will change depending on specifically your situation. So it's Doom 2016 in particular. I loved Doom Eternal. I think they threw a little bit too much at, and it kind of got a little bit I found it a bit overbearing, but there's a lot of people that do prefer it. So if you want a modern experience, they're both great games as well.
I think I might go back for Doom 2016 because I came from Doom 3, which is a horror game, to Doom 2016, and I was like, what is this? So like maybe if I go back for it,
it's much more similar, and the enemies look more similar, and they play to the nostalgia of Doom 1 more. Like you're collecting the key cards, and so there's even Easter eggs where you go into play bits of Doom 1 levels in them, but with like it's like all old graphics, but then like the modern gun and hands. Like
I did when I did play it, I did move the gun to the middle of the screen.
Yeah,
which is one of the options you can do, so it looked like the old one. Actually, speaking of the story. I've actually written out the story if you want to hear it of Doom.
Okay.
So you play as the Doom. Yeah, strap in. It's a long one. You play as the Doom guy, and you're on the moon of Mars. You fight your way through it till you get to hell, and then you fight out of it.
Yeah. But that's all it needs. That's all it needs.
Do you know what? It had 4 novels.
Yeah. Oh, really?
4 novels?
At the time, or
at the time? Yeah, at the time.
That's great.
Like
I
one for
wonder
each
how much of
episode.
that they brought forward for the modern Dooms. I wonder if they've thrown all of that out.
Yeah,
and just gone back to the simpler one.
Yeah, but I got this comment which I just want to throw in because I absolutely loved it, even though it's not really related to anything. I don't think we're going to speak around it. Master of D 101. I think they might have misunderstood how this game works from 1993. They put, I love how the developers have managed to keep this game going and running this long. It has a massively long lifespan for a game. Love the podcast.
That is absolutely true. So one of the things, no, honestly, one of the things we haven't, obviously there's been constant re-releases of it.
Yeah.
We played one of the re-releases of it. And then there's been like the mods and the add-ons. And we both played some of the add-ons, which are in the official version on the Xbox. One was made by John Romero himself. I think like things like the 20-year anniversary or something. And they have kept supporting it, and the community have kind of kept it going as well.
Yeah. I sort of read it more as a games as a service angle, which maybe.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that's what they mean, but I think they're maybe. I mean, I think they're accidentally quite correct. Like, it's never fully left the conversation.
And we also got another comment from Slens, who also just mentioned the mods, but it sounds like we're about to talk about them. So
yeah. So which ones did you play?
So I played. I think it's called Wrecker or Reckon. It's included on the version. I also played a tiny bit of Sigil.
So that's the one that John Romero, one of the original designers, made.
Yeah. But I found Sigil just too difficult.
Okay.
Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I only kind of realised you could shoot switches quite far in.
The little eye thingies.
Yeah. And then I was like, I've got to finish the game. I'll come back to this later. And then I never did.
Okay.
But the other one I played quite a bit of, the other like medieval style one.
Yeah.
Which is pretty, I mean, it's pretty amazing that these things exist, like, and are available on your console. And there's the website that does Doom mods, which I think are called WODs. They still do like top 100 of the year lists all the way up to like this year.
Yeah.
So like people are still making
communities, because I think there's always a community about like pushing tech as far as it will go. Like there's people that are, like home brewing like Game Boy games that are like really deep RPGs, just to see if they can.
Yeah.
I played Zero, and it's
I looked at the pictures of that. Is it?
It's just really, it's just they've just learned from all of the the past of Doom, and it's so well, it's designed so well. There's some levels that almost reminded me of like kind of my favorite style of Zelda dungeons, where you're like it's a kind of like a labyrinth, but it's so much more designed to let you know where you're going. So there'll be like a big room, and there'll be like a bridge, and you got to obviously see you do this switch, and the bridge will raise a bit, the first bit, and then you kind of got to link around somewhere else to raise the next bit. But then you kind of keep going off and then coming back to the same room, and it's so well designed, and they know how to make the art look as good as possible, what bits to use and what not to use, and it's well balanced, and it's got surprises. Like there's one bit where you go to the end of the level, you're always kind of jumping in a pit to end the level.
Okay,
and
like a few of the levels in Doom are like that too.
Yeah. So they're all like that, and you jump in, but then you just get crushed, and it takes you down until you have just 7 health. And then you start the next level with just 7 health. But it's like a giant corridor of enemies. It's like it had moments.
All right, wow. I didn't even. I looked at the pictures and I was like, oh, that's the Doom weapons. I guess it's just a level pack.
Yeah, it is. It feels like it feels like what if Doom was made today.
Yeah,
it has slightly different style. Like one's like levels set on rooftops and some more modern stuff. But I think what it really demonstrated to me is that the biggest thing holding Doom back wasn't the tech. It was just the game design, of the era. The fact that they were making the first one, they didn't have 20 years of people, well, more than 20 years of people making mistakes and learning from mistakes. They didn't have that yet. And I feel like, it just shows with that game engine, making a well-designed game is just really fun.
Yeah. Did you see the mod we got sent by one of the listeners of the NFT?
Yeah, I saw
like take pictures of the monkeys. I was like, that's great.
So good.
I've also saw 2 other mods. One of them I tried to find and send to you before recording, but I can't remember what it was called. But someone basically made Titanfall 2 in Doom.
Wow.
So you can sprint, and when you sprint, they hold the gun up. So you can see it, and like you can slide. You can like shoot out glass. Like the level they're doing is like on a train, but like it uses a few things from modern times. A bit like a pixel indie game.
Yeah.
Sorry, which is like, it's pixely, but it wouldn't run on the SNES. So it's a bit like that, like it uses a few things one times. And the other one I saw is someone made Resident Evil 4 in Doom, where Leon, so they replaced the gun sprite with Leon. So he's standing at the side of the screen, and when he runs, he's like bouncing up and down. And then like you could do the kicks and like the neck breaks and stuff like on the generic enemies, where like he'll like step round them and then like snap back to the side of the screen. I thought that one was pretty cool as well.
I love that stuff. There's a YouTube channel where they basically make I don't know how playable they are in their videos, but basically as if all of these modern games were PS1 games. Have you ever seen them before?
I saw the Bloodborne one.
Yeah, and I love that. I find that so fascinating. This sounds a little bit like like that.
Yeah, so demake, what they call it.
Yeah.
I've also got, I didn't write it down, but I watched a video. So I watched basically the review of Doom by Action Button on YouTube. That's pretty much where all of the information came from. It's 3 hours long. It's absolutely amazing. The guy finished every version of Doom on everything it's ever been on. So he's like well versed in it. But one of the things that he pointed out that I thought was really interesting is he said that Doom has one of the first and most impressive vertical slices in a game. So the vertical slice is you see everything that's in a game in one go.
Yeah.
So like in one quick thing. So there's a famous example, which is Metal Gear Solid 3, the bit that they showed producers and stuff when they were making the game. There's one area that has everything in the game in that one room. So you can go, oh yeah, here's this, here's this. Whereas he said, so this guy, Tim Rogers, his name is, he said in the opening 37 seconds of Doom, you learn everything about the game and you're also learning about it for the first time ever when it came out, because no one had ever seen anything like this before. So he was like, I don't know if you remember the opening.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to put the video while I'm talking, but I'm going to try and remember as best I can what happens. But basically, you start.
I hope I did what you're going to talk about.
Yeah. Well, basically, you start, and then you can see an armor kit like up on some stairs. So after you kill the first couple of enemies, which is probably like mind blowing at the time, there's like an armor plate on top of some stairs. So you go up the stairs, but then you have nowhere else to go. So the only thing you can do is go backwards. And he was like, at the time, that was like mad. Like no one ever thought about going backwards.
These were games where you'd go side-scrolling left to right. Even going right to left on a 2D plane would be
quite weird. Yeah. So he was like, you go backwards. But then when you go backwards, you can see out a window. And out a window is a better armor plate than the one you've just picked up. So it's like teaching you to look around, to find secrets, to backtrack, and the fact that the things that you pick up level up.
Yeah,
like all within that. And then when you go around the next corner, you see two more dudes, like two more of the standard shooting guys that you've already killed, and the imps, who are the like brown spiky fireball throwing enemies. And they are just the right distance away, and the line of sight is just so that you'll see them. They'll shoot at you, but they won't hit you. So then you learn like what they can do, how long it takes, and like the fact that you can shoot upwards without looking up.
Yeah, I think that's the room where you kind of zigzaggy floor, isn't it? And then there's an imp up on the left. Yeah,
all within that first encounter, and all of that is in the first 37 seconds of the game. And he said everything except for whatever reason the key cards are in that section. But the key card is the first thing you get on the second level, so it's kind of like, well,
yeah. Don't overwhelm them. Also getting that armor, because if you go up as well, and if you rather than going backwards, if you turn round, you also see behind one of the pillars there's a button. And that's you can go and press it, and that's often the first secret people know about, because it's not like some of the secrets are very hidden. It's like one panel that's slightly discolored, but this is a button, and if you press that while you're pressing the button, you can see the doorway open in your view, and then you can go out, and then there's like that courtyard. So it's probably the first secret that people find.
Well, yeah, because you would go look at see the armor, then turn around and go back to where you were.
Yeah, and then the button's on the side going down the stairs, I believe.
There we go. Yeah, so that's like... The thing is, when they're designing these games, they're designing them like this game is the one thing that people get. There was no internet to be like, oh, we're going to go online and watch a tips video. Or there was no like documentation that came with it, as far as I know. So it was literally like, we need to tell you everything you need to know when you launch the program, and that's it. We have nothing else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that was really impressive. I wanted to mention it. So
Yeah, no, actually, I had that thought with that room with the imp higher up. I'm like, oh, there's just one enemy up there shooting fireballs down from a decent distance. And then, like, as you scroll to it, the crosshair kind of goes red. I assume it did that in the original, and that's not something they changed in the remaster. And then you can know that's how you work out. You're like, oh, how would I shoot that? And then you just try it, and then you see, oh, it does, my gun does shoot up.
yeah. Which I think they probably could have done a better signifier that was happening. Like maybe the crosshair could move up or down or something. Sometimes you're like, am I aiming at them? Like, I don't
or like when you shoot at it, I'm sure that, I'm sure they would have loved to have done that. I'm like, I feel like it's very good to be like, well, why didn't they do that? And I'm sure there's like 5 reasons why that wasn't plausible or whatever.
So obviously this game and game series is super famous, far-reaching. We had a question in from a listener, Gaz Bright, who also sent in that mod, by the way, the photography mod. Said, what is your fave homaged... Am I saying that right? Homage? I don't know how to say that word.
Homage?
What's your favourite homage to Doom? And why is it the Doom horn sound in Forza? So I looked that up, and it is just the song, the main song, played when you press the horn.
I'm trying to think of like...
Do you want me to go first? Because I've got one, but you have already mentioned it.
Yeah.
So mine was going to be in Doom 2016 when you find the original Doom. Like,
can you consider a homage to Doom in a Doom game?
It's close enough. I swear also there was a Simpsons like mock of it, but I don't really remember.
I don't know if this counts as a homage, but I know that I think it was only in America. There was it's called Chex Quest.
Oh yeah. Is that those like cereal mascot?
Yeah, so you get a free game in cereal, and it's basically Doom, the Doom engine, but you're like, I don't know, shooting cereal monsters or something, and all of those like the era of Doom clone where a first-person shooter was considered a Doom clone. Like that's what first-person, because like even if it wasn't using their engine, it's like, oh, you're in first-person shooting, it's a Doom clone. Like that was what it was for so long. So I'm just gonna say like every game between 1993 and 1996 is my favorite homage to Doom.
Every game between 1993 and now.
My favorite homage to Doom is Halo 3.
I mean, there's probably DNA there. There definitely is DNA there.
Yeah, probably. I don't know, maybe a bit from the Quake 3 engine. I mean, that's what Call of Duty has code from the from id Tech. Obviously anything on Source, and then Source as well. So so many games have DNA that's kind of that code's kind of come through.
And also, speaking of things that are like passing on to other games, did you feel like the last area, so episode 4 of Doom, it kind of gave me like big Quake vibes and Unreal Tournament vibes? Like the layouts of the levels were like quite long and huge, and they had a lot of like sprinting up ramps and over gaps.
Oh, the platforming. Like, that's something I should have mentioned on the downfall.
It's not good.
The platforming sections.
It's not great, but like I was like, oh, this really reminds me of like early Unreal Tournament and like early Quake.
Yeah, I mean it's not surprising. That's what they kind of went on to do after Doom. But yeah, no, I mean that's not something that stood out to me immediately. But now you mention it, like a lot of that stuff has kind of carried around to kind of Quake and beyond.
And, Quake and Doom, both of them aren't really afraid to be like quite abstract. Like levels in first-person shooters now are like, oh yeah, that's a car park, but now I'm playing through it. Whereas in Doom, it's just like, here's a big concrete thing.
Yeah, and I feel like that was actually what made another game of that era, obviously slightly later, was Duke Nukem 3D, and I feel like their whole thing was like, no, we are going to be grounded. This, you're in a cinema and it looks like a cinema. And that was their novelty was, hey, no, this looks like, real places. And, until you go off to space and it gets a bit more ridiculous. I feel like their whole special thing was everyone was doing these fantastical or medieval, magic and kind of did that kind of shooter. And then Duke Nukem 3D kind of jumped in, which is a game I played much more than Doom back in the day.
Did you ever
their
play,
whole thing was it's more real.
Did you ever play Marathon?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the missing link between Doom and Halo, really, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's made by Bungie, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, for the Mac, and because I grew up obviously with all Macs, so Marathon I played a decent amount of as well.
And I've never even seen it. I don't even know what it looks like.
It looks like super high res Doom.
Okay.
Really good sounds. It really helps it out a lot.
Yeah.
It's not. I don't think they'd be. They did remake it. I don't think it would be as fun as Doom today because it hasn't got the same pace. But it's cool looking at like how the DNA for Halo in it. Like there's like some things are named the same as well, and some of the guns look similar.
Well, I know the
and
Halo
stuff.
logo has got the Marathon logo inside it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I remember that. Back when I was banging to Halo 1, I used to like research things like that.
You were so cool as a teenager, Ollie.
Yeah, I know.
No wonder we had so many friends.
Just me, you, and Master Chief.
Just me, you, and our gaming magazines.
Yeah, exactly. Also, Doom does have multiplayer, and it was one of the first network multiplayers, but I didn't get a chance to play it because it's local only on the version
I
I've
think
got,
I've played it very briefly, not enough. I feel like co-op would be more fun than deathmatch nowadays. I feel like deathmatch was very popular at the time, and people would have LAN parties and stuff. But obviously, I think that's because there was nothing else like it. So I think that, especially if we were playing it on controller like we were, the movement speed's just too high for it. I think you could have fun for an evening. That's all you'd want to do. But I'm sure co-op would be a blast.
That's also split screen, so we could do it next time I see you.
Well, looking forward to it. Maybe Doom 2.
Okay, we are pushing, I don't know, about 45 minutes. I do actually have a quiz for you.
Oh, I've been waiting for the return.
Well, people were commenting they like the quiz. They like the Christmas quiz.
Ollie's famous quiz.
So I've done a...
were there any bold kids in this game? Reference to our Onimusha podcast. Otherwise, that'd be a really weird comment out of context.
I've done good questions as well. None of them are just like, this is the question, this is the answer. I've done a couple of how many can you name and closest to.
Oh, is it how many enemies can you name? Because I got a list.
No, luckily no, because you do have a list. So, you ready?
Go for it.
Unless there's anything else you want to mention about Doom before we do this.
Oh, is this the cutoff?
Oh, I think we could do this and then we can do the list.
Yeah, I think we've I've said everything I've got everything off my chest that I wanted to.
Okay, right. Okay, so Doom is famous for being able to be played on anything, but how many official ports of Doom are there?
Okay, I mean, I could try and go through and list them. I think it would just
you
take
won't be
too
able
long
to list all of them
because there's so many.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say it's got to be a surprisingly high number. So I am going to say 78. Is that too
There's
high?
not even 78 things that can play games.
Well, I think because I mean, like the version that we played was originally on Xbox 360 and it's backwards compatible on Xbox One, Xbox Xbox One X, Series X, Series S, like PlayStation, Game Boy Advanced phones. Like, I played Doom on a piano.
Yeah, but that's not an official port. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know. Okay. But I'm making the point of it's played on a lot of things.
Yeah, on the video that I watched, the Action Button review, he plays it on as many things as possible, and he plays it on a thermostat.
Beautiful.
The answer is 22 ports.
That seems surprisingly low.
I feel like Resident Evil 4 is getting there.
Yeah, I would think that would be. Yeah, I mean 78 now. It sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised at how low that is.
Okay, so there are 8 weapons in Doom. How many can you name?
8. So we got is it pistol? Is it just called pistol?
Mm-hmm.
Can we give that pistol, shotgun?
Yep.
Just Doom 1. So no
just
super
Doom 1.
shotgun?
Just Doom 1.
Okay. Chainsaw.
Yep.
Do like punchies count? Like gauntlet? Yeah.
Yep.
Punchies. The BFG.
Yep.
Big friendly gun. It stands for
big friendly giant. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. The rocket launcher.
Yep.
And then I don't know. Is it the plasma gun thing? Is it called plasma gun?
It's called. I've written plasma gun because I don't know what it's called. What a great gun that is, by the way.
Yeah. No. Super
It
satisfying.
can carry so much ammo, and the way that when you stop firing, it goes like.
Yeah.
This is so cool.
Have I missed one?
You got one more, yeah.
Rocket launcher? Is it? The machine gun.
Yes, 8 out of 8. Well done.
Nice. I mean, I played it like I played the add-ons right before we recorded this, so it's as fresh as fresh could be.
Okay. Okay. Next one's go closest guess. What is the world record for finishing all of Doom episodes 1 to 4, like the speed.
Yeah. It's going to be stupidly low. So I mean, the par times on them are on average about 2 minutes, but I'm sure they're way under the par times. So I'm going to say like, is this I don't know if you know, is this category? Does it include like, is it glitchless or?
It's just it's glitchless. It's literally just playing through the game. It's like the standard speedrun.
I'm going to say 16 minutes.
Oh, close. 19 minutes 43.
Ah, okay, yeah. 'Cause I mean, it took me like 23 minutes, so that makes that makes sense.
It took me 18 minutes. I should probably let someone know. And that's on Hurt Me Plenty, which is the average difficulty. Speaking of difficulties, there are 5 difficulties in the game.
Oh,
can you name them?
Okay. Is Nightmare the last one?
Yep. So you got
Nightmare, Hurt Me Plenty. You're going from hardest down.
Yeah. Well, you've missed one already then, if that's the case. But
oh no, this is hard.
yeah.
I don't think I'm going to get these. Can you hum the theme tune for a bit to stall while I think?
No, I
don't get that. No, like I know as soon as you say them, I'm gonna remember them. But
okay, so I'm gonna go from easiest to hardest because that'll be easy. That makes more sense. I'm Too Young to Die. That's an obvious one, isn't it? That's what I would have guessed.
Obviously. Now I obviously know I should have said that.
Hey, Not Too Rough.
Wouldn't really remembered that one. I don't think.
That's the one I did episode 4 on because I was like, this is too hard. Hurt Me Plenty is the average one. Then there's Ultra Violence.
Oh, yeah.
Then Nightmare.
Yeah.
I think one of the only...
Sorry, I was going to say related to that, on the modern Wolfenstein games, as you pick the different difficulties, the face, changes as you go.
Yeah.
And if you just do like the easiest one, he's got like a little pacifier and a little like baby's frock on it. It's like so stupid.
Well, actually, interestingly, in the code, I'm Too Young to Die is known as like SK-baby. So I guess maybe that's maybe where that came from. So I think you got. I'm going to give you 2 out of 4.
Thank you very much.
So I'm going to give you Hey, Not Too Rough.
Okay, that's what I got. Well, what difficulty was the quiz out of those?
Oh, that was Ultra Violence. That was high.
That was an ultra violent quiz.
Yeah. There was also, I don't know if you want to go into it or not, but there was the whole I just remembered in the 90s there was a whole video game violence causes real violence, and Doom was kind of the beacon of that.
Yeah, it's kind of Doom and then Mortal Kombat. Yeah, they were the two. I mean,
but I don't really know what needs to be said about it. But just in my research, I did find one thing that was quite funny, in that the main court thing that they put across about one of the horrific murders that happened in America was that the killers wore trench coats like the character from Doom, and he doesn't wear a trench coat; he wears body armor. But interestingly, in the advert for Doom, Bill Gates walks past and he's wearing a trench coat. So they must have seen that and been like, "That's the main guy."
Yeah, that's the Microsoft
just Bill Gates
guy.
with his glasses on,
Doom's on a PC.
I
mean, Bill Gates has obviously been very influential with his fashion over the years.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
That's not a surprise.
Yeah, cool.
Do I have time for a quick boast before we get to the list?
Of course. We're running under time here. You can.
Okay, so I just want to say that I actually got to meet John Carmack a couple times, which had one time had a pretty decent lengthy chat with him, which was cool.
Would you say he was a friend of the show?
He's not going to watch this, so yeah, sure. Yeah. So it's just because he was did a lot of stuff with Microsoft because he was doing a lot of the Minecon and VR stuff, because he was a really big part of Oculus. And so then there was a Minecon where well, it's funny because I first saw him when I presented an award at the Gaming BAFTAs, and he was getting a Lifetime Achievement Award, and we walked in. Like he was in front of me as we walked in, and I was sort of there to my partner saying that's who he is, blah, 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 blah. I didn't know he was getting this award, and so I was getting all excited that he was there. And then at Minecon, he mentioned to me, because he had, I think it was a son or something that had watched me, so he knew who I was. He had mentioned that he had seen me at the Gaming BAFTAs, but didn't want to like disturb me. And it was like, what? Didn't want to disturb me. He's there getting his Lifetime Achievement Award, but he was literally on Minecon going on stage before me. It was him and then me. Yeah. So we were both backstage enjoying like rehearsals and stuff. So we actually were hanging out a bit and chatting and
what's he like then?
Stuff. No, he's lovely. He's surprisingly like social and forward, which I wasn't kind of expecting.
What were you expecting?
Well, he's he's like a massive nerd, isn't he? And I'd seen a lot of his like he used to kind of do a big talk each year at QuakeCon, and he kind of he didn't seem like someone in a natural environment when he was on stage and stuff. But he was he was really friendly, and he just if you didn't know his history, you wouldn't think anything other than he was just another guy there, just kind of talking about his tech. So he was really nice.
Oh, nice. Sweet. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. You got your boast.
Got my little boast in, buddy.
I'm going to boast as well. I played Doom on the Game Boy Advance. So.
Friend of the show, Game Boy Advance version of Doom.
Yeah, the Doom guy that's made of like three pixels.
Yeah. I wonder how much, because there's kind of a border around the screen where you have all your health and stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder whether they do it like that to help the frame rate, so there's less stuff they're rendering in it.
I think they do, because on the PC version, if you turn the resolution down, it all stays the same size, but the grey HUD gets bigger.
Yeah.
And so that must be why they did it like that.
Yeah, because I remember some games of that era just had like a black border, and they just made it all smaller just so games would run properly.
Yeah. Right. Should we list it up?
Yeah,
I'm in control as usual.
You're in the
already in the
driver's seat. So do you want to kind of just it's not going to be for too long, we're going to be able to do this so quickly, but do you want to read out the list as it is for audio listeners?
Yeah, so currently in 4th position is Onimusha Warlords, then we have Halo Infinite, then we have The Forgotten City, and then we have Disco Elysium. That's number 1.
Okay. So I think we're going to have a disagreement here. I don't. Okay. Where would you honestly want to put it?
I would honestly put this at number 1.
Number 1.
Number 1, yeah. This is like with all the research I've done as well that's helped. I'm like, I can't believe this game exists and came out when it did, and is as good today as it was 19 years ago. Oh no, 29 years ago.
I thought my fight would be you trying to get it above Halo Infinite. That's where I thought
it's going above everything. It's going above
that's
everything.
where I thought my battle was going to be. So look, can I just Disco Elysium? That's just out the picture, okay? Like, just no. Look, so okay, we consider like the era these games were released in and their legacy, and there's very few games, probably less than 5 games that can be argued has as much of an influence on gaming as Doom has, and we do recognize that and we do consider that, but this isn't a list of like most iconic games or even the best games. These are a list of our favorite games, like what these games mean to us. So I'm just saying we can't ride Doom up just because of how good it was in the time it was made and its legacy. And I just feel
you're like making me lose confidence in my.
Well, I'm trying to make you change your mind. I mean, that's my point here. But I just feel Disco Elysium was just so incredible that the fact that Doom was so incredible in its day, but we can look back at it and like, as gaming historians and like recognize that, but still see the shortcomings. I feel like I'm not going to budge on Disco Elysium. You'd have to have an incredible argument to make me budge on Disco Elysium.
Okay, what about counteroffer? Doom 2nd, Forgotten City 4th or 5th.
I mean, it just feels weird because I want Halo above the Forgotten City, so it feels so like I don't want Doom. Like I would be happier with Doom above Forgotten City, but not above.
I just
Halo
don't want
Infinite.
Halo Infinite to be second. It just doesn't make sense to me. So that's why I'm like, we could swap it.
I would settle. What about this? Disco Elysium 1, Doom 2, Halo Infinite 3, then Forgotten City 4.
And then Onimusha 5th.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's me just pushing up it's just because I feel like that's a compromise both ways. I would put Doom at 4 under Halo Infinite.
Okay.
And
so let's do that and quickly have a look at it.
Okay.
See how we
visualize it.
Yeah, I'm just doing it now.
See if it feels right.
Yeah, and then Halo Infinite goes there, which is way too high, but we move.
So you want Doom at 1. Was that just to say if this game was released yesterday without the history, where would you have put it just from playing the game?
I feel like it's not the history, it's the fact that I've done the research and now I feel like I have a deep understanding of this game.
Oh yeah, and that matters because that has raised your appreciation of the game and makes you like it more. Like, I'm not saying discount that, but if this was for just the game as in a vacuum, where would you put it? Out of curiosity, not to affect anything.
I think I'd probably put it in second, but I would have just moved everything else down.
Yeah. Yeah, you wouldn't have switched. Yeah.
No.
Well, how does this look to you?
I think it looks fine, but it's crazy to me that Doom isn't at the top. Because the guy, so I don't want to lean on this guy too much, but Action Button Reviews also does a list. So, I mean, feel free to bleep that if you don't want other people to watch their channel and they should stick with us. But their list, Doom is at the top.
Yeah, but I mean this is a list of our favourite games.
I know, but I saw it at the top and I was like, that makes so much sense. Every game after Doom is Doom.
It's
Forgotten City is Doom.
So the thing is with that, I agree. Like people say, like, without Mario, you wouldn't have got Banjo and Kazooie or whatever. People, and I'm like, you wouldn't have got it yet. If Doom, if id Software never existed, first-person shooters would exist just a bit later. Like it's not like no one would ever consider doing a first-person game. So I always feel like that's a little bit disingenuous. Like, and I don't want to take anything away from Doom. Like, obviously, I love Doom, and the fact that, as you say, the fact that they nailed it first time, it's only really that and Mario 3D where they like something so new and they kind of just got it right first time. Like that's not the norm. And there's a big gap of first person shooters between Doom and modern games that I'd probably enjoy a whole lot less, that have aged a whole lot worse. And so that is incredible.
Definitely. But all the Doom clones, man. Like, do you remember Alien Trilogy?
No, I never played those ones.
God, it was rubbish. I had it on PS1. It was rubbish. Also, just as an aside, someone did write in. They've got the PS1 version of Doom, which apparently is the best version. So,
really,
if anyone's looking to play Doom, apparently
the PS1 version because it has was pretty good.
Well, the PS1 version's got CD music,
okay,
and also it has coloured lighting, which none of the other versions have, which apparently adds a lot. So
RGB, RGB
Doom. yeah. But I think I would put it up. Like, I feel like Disco Elysium was really good, but the appreciation I have for Doom is like looking at a granddad and being like, I love you, man. you are the king of the castle and you will never be knocked off.
So I get that.
The amount that we owe Doom is unbelievable.
The way I look at Disco Elysium, I get that for Doom, incredible granddad. The way I look at Disco Elysium, I see Kim from Disco Elysium, and I don't want. He respects me at the moment. And appreciates me.
I think Kim would put Doom in number 1.
He'd be too.
He'd be like, "Oh, we owe so much to this beautiful game." Like, so you're not budging on Disco Elysium? Even Disco Elysium 2. Wow, 2. That sounds good, doesn't it? Do you have a look at it? Just see what it looks like in 2?
No, I don't want to see it. I don't. Don't make me log in. Don't make me log in, and we have a cursor battle.
I broke it.
See, that's what I see. It all falls apart. It all topples. This Jenga tower of a list.
That looks lovely, doesn't it?
I mean, I think I did enjoy Disco Elysium more than you. And I do think it's because I did all of the side content. And I spent longer in that world. And I built more of an attachment to it. And I feel like I peeled back so many layers. I feel like Disco Elysium obviously isn't as much of a technical achievement. But in terms of the design, I feel like nothing has come close to what Disco Elysium is doing today. And I think I'm always more excited about the future of games than I am the past and like what could games be in the future. And I feel like Disco Elysium is more of a glimpse of that for like the depth and quality of writing and voice acting that it excites me more.
So you're saying that Disco Elysium is more of a glimpse of the future now than Doom was when it came out?
No. I said obviously it's not as much of an achievement in its day, but I find it more exciting that there's not a comparable game to Disco Elysium that comes close to that, the depth and the amount of levels and how smart the systems are and the different parts of your mind talking to each other. There's like, I can't get that experience anywhere else. I could play Doom 2, I could play Quake, I could play all of those. Like I could get that Doom experience in so many other places. Disco Elysium is completely unique in the way of what it does and the level of quality it reaches. There's nothing else like it. Like obviously the Doom clones and other games like Doom came because of Doom, but I can get a similar experience, you know, in other places, or even like those add-ons. You know, Doom 0 is better than Doom 1, obviously, because it's a modern game. They've learned from it. It's got better game design.
Talk over here from John Carmack's best mate. Oh, it's obviously better. Like it probably isn't.
It absolutely. Like if both games came out, like if Doom and Doom 0, this add-on came out the same day, like you know, people would obviously gravitate to the one that, you know, with modern design and sensibilities. You know, the same as I enjoyed Doom's campaign more than Halo Infinite's campaign. If Halo Infinite's campaign came out on the same day as Doom, you know, no one would mention Doom. You know, obviously because of all the tech achievements. But I feel like I've compromised a lot. I've compromised 2 spaces. You've compromised 1.
What, you compromised you don't think the Forgotten City needed to move down?
No, I wanted Doom to be at 4. It's at 2. I wanted it to be under Halo Infinite.
You are out of your mind. You're literally out of your mind. Are you on drugs? Have you been playing too much Disco Elysium? Have you been coerced by Harriet Dubois and Kim?
What was psychochemistry or whatever? Is that you talking to me too much?
Oh my god. Do you know what? I feel like you're losing. Every time you open your mouth today, you're losing gamer cred. Oh, my voice broke there. You're losing gamer cred. Like I'm going to start crying. Can't believe that happened. I'm so embarrassed. You're losing gamer cred. Anyway, Doom should be number 1, but I'm happy to leave it at 2. I'm happy to leave the list as it is.
If you're saying happy to, let's just lock it in now. Let's not discuss it anymore before I say something that's gonna convince myself to change it. I mean,
were you going that way?
No, I'm not. I'm not budging on Disco Elysium whatsoever. That was like an experience I'm gonna remember for a really long time. I loved Doom. I enjoyed it. I have a strong appreciation for it. I have a love for Disco Elysium. You know, I have more of an emotional response to Disco Elysium, which I kind of probably weight more rather than the history of it, I guess.
Maybe we should do your school of thought of Halo Infinite and be saying, in 29 years, will you still be enjoying Disco Elysium? As like we always do.
Yeah, I mean, Disco Elysium.
Like in 3 years' time.
Disco Elysium is not going to age. Someone could find Disco Elysium in 20 years, and it's not going to age, is it? Like, how?
Well, they might do the conversation system might just get better.
Not many. Like, that's not going to become the norm. Like, because that's not like technology can't make that. That's just great writing. It's not like, you know, books in 20 years, people can't read today's book, you know, like that's just amazing writing and design. And like, I think we've found with modern games, they can't brute force that, you know, with like 400 developer teams from Ubisoft, you know, like making Watch Dogs or whatever, you know, like it's like that can't. So I don't think Disco Elysium is going to age.
If you read the 4 novels, you might change your mind.
Well, maybe we should do that as our next one. We do a live stream reading it or something.
Well, we might get copyright claims. Who do that?
No, we won't be reading it out loud. We'll just be
okay. We'll just be quietly reading it. Yeah. Also, the Doom movie. You should have watched the Doom movie.
Oh god, yeah. Maybe. I don't know if these are going to help your case, Ollie. I don't know. I don't know if you want to. If you want to put the whole Doom franchise in, I don't think this helps you.
No. Okay, I'm happy then. So the current list for audio listeners, starting from the bottom, We've got Onimusha Warlords, The Forgotten City, Halo Infinite, Doom, and then Disco Elysium, which apparently is the bastion of all video games. And
there are games I'd put above it, just not many of them. But there is one of them that I want to put as a future game, but I won't mention it yet. A game that I would want to put above it.
We had a suggestion for a game that I don't think either of us mentioned. It's a really good idea. Oh, yeah, I'm going to tell you afterwards in case you like them. We're not doing that. So
get all these teasers. But what we can talk about is what game we will be doing next. And the next game for the next podcast is Ooblets, which is available on most platforms. So it's on PC, it's on Xbox. I'm pretty sure it's on PS4. On PC, I believe it's only on the Epic Store at the moment, if you're having struggle finding it. It's our first early access game. It's been out in early access for a while, so it's quite, it's not like alpha or anything. It's not falling apart, but it's it's an ongoing game. They're continuing to update, which will be interesting for the list because, if we go back and play it, we could shuffle it. But also it's going to be the first podcast we're going to be doing with a special guest. So we're not going to announce who that's going to be. You're going to have to tune in to the next podcast to find out who that's going to be. But if you do want to kind of give feedback, if you've already been playing Ooblets, or if you want to play it to kind of give your opinions or any points you want to make on it, as always, the best place to do it is on Twitter. It's just the easiest place for us to kind of collect it. Or you can, if you don't have Twitter or don't want to have Twitter, you can leave a comment on this YouTube page, and we will check that before the next podcast if you do have anything you want to say.
And we'll try not to lose the comment.
Yeah,
because I lost another one for this episode as well.
I mean, every comment is not guaranteed to be read. The best chance to be read is if you do a very short, concise point about a single element of the game. That's what we're after. So if you do one of them, we're still a very, very small channel. You have a great chance of being included in the podcast. So if you want to join the conversation, feel free to do so.
Can I have a little boast quickly?
Go ahead. Is it the Game Boy Advanced again? He always talks about his Game Boy Advance. We get it. You got a Game Boy Advance.
You imagine the Game Boy, but it's in color and it does more things. No, it's not that. It's I previewed Ooblets before it came out at EGX.
Okay.
When I went to EGX as a journo, I previewed it, and I think it still had fighting in it, which I don't think it does anymore.
Oh, yeah, no, I believe it doesn't anymore. So.
Yeah, because my memory of it is that it had fighting in it, and then I looked it up, and it had dancing in it. Yeah. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's cool, because I feel like this is a game that not everyone listening would know what it is, and hopefully it had fighting in it, now it has dancing in it, has piqued people's interest to go check this game out. It was a game I was going to play anyway. I was waiting... I was going to wait until the full release to start playing it. But as always, when we have guests, the guests are going to choose what game we play, and then we will play it no matter what it is, as long as we can get our hands on it. But then the list is still sacred to us. So they need to, because I think our guests will generally probably want their game quite high up. So they need to persuade us. It's going to be a fun first test of the format with three of us. So yeah, should be a fun one. Don't miss it.
Cool. So we're at the Bonus Points, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. We're the Bonus Points YT. But to be honest, all I do is post the same stuff that we have on the other channels, just to make sure that we're there. Comment on this video or tweet at us on the Ooblets tweet, and then we'll see it.
Yep.
I think that's everything. Yep. Oh, actually, no, one more thing. We've got one more thing, haven't we? One of our amazing viewers, one of our subscribers, Aya_Joshua, he's written in before. I called him Josh then, I'm going to call him Josh now. He remixed the Doom soundtrack and the Halo soundtrack together, and we're going to play it now.
Yeah.
His YouTube channel is CityFolk66. I did have a look. He just seems to do a lot of musical stuff. He's a musician, pretty talented guy. Aya_Joshua on Twitter. So yeah, cheers for that.
And also, if this keeps going where he merges one episode to the next, I'm really looking forward to the Doom Ooblets mashup that we're going to get next podcast.
You probably would as well.
Yeah, now I've mentioned
right, yeah. So that's everything.
Right, cheers for listening or watching, everyone. See you in the next one. Keep your eyes on the channel for more bonus points that will pop up between every podcast. But yeah, apart from that, stay safe, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Cool. Cheers, everyone. Bye.